Hello, welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
I cannot recall a week that both shows that I do for this network have been so jam-packed full of news that we just need to get into it because there's too much news.
It's too much. Too much. All right. Holy shit. So, look, we normally do, like, we have the paywall, right? You get the first hour for free. It's like selling drugs. You get a little free. We try to get you on the comeback, get you to hear the whole thing. Look, this week, just saying it right now. This episode is so goddamn important. All this stuff is so important. Whole thing's for free. Like, let's fucking go. You're getting the whole fucking 2 hours plus probably episode because I feel like this has got a lot of stuff that people are going to need to hear. All right, so let's get right into it. As you wrote, Brad, on the docket, Stormy Daniels' testimony was impactful and gross.
Incredibly gross.
Go ahead.
Incredibly gross. So Stormy Daniels testified last week in the Trump trial. She's one of three key witnesses for the prosecution. We'll talk about the third in a little bit. She was on there for 2 days last week, and by all accounts, she acquitted herself quite well. She did a good job. Was talking a little fast and going a little crazy during her direct examination. Held up pretty well on cross. Did not allow Trump's attorneys to push her around. Basically, she kind of told her story of the Trump sexual encounter that she had back in 2006 was the impetus of the hush money payment that the trial kind of centers around. Apparently, she met Trump at this golf event, and she got invited to his suite, and they were talking for a little while, and then she went to the bathroom, and then all of a sudden she comes out, and he's just wearing a t-shirt and boxers on the bed. And she's like, that was kind of fucking weird. And
I mean,
yeah, well,
I'm not trying to be a dick. And look, I think Stormy is a perfectly fine person, whatever. I don't give a shit about that. But let's not pretend you went back to the guy's room just to hang out. It's Donald Trump.
Sure.
Like, come on.
Sure.
I mean, you knew it was up.
Well, and her kind of her running story through this is while he did not sexually assault her, and she didn't allege that was the case, she felt like there was a power imbalance at the time. She was 27, and kind of an unknown, and he was Donald Trump. So you could understand where maybe she could kind of feel that way. And she and the judge both tried to kind of rein in the details of the story. The judge didn't want a lot of the gory details out there. She kind of let slip more than the judge wanted, but also the defense wasn't objecting to a ton of the testimony, apparently.
Right.
And so they were worried. They were worried about how she was framing the argument, because they were it's going to prejudice the jury if these certain details come to light. But then they didn't object when a lot of those details came up, therefore making it kind of unappealable. And the judge even said this to them after the fact. It was hey, you didn't raise really a lot, any objections. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Right. Yeah, I mean, my guess is they thought that if they just let it slide, then that's what they could do. But it's the judge was no, if you would raise the objection, then we kept going and going, then yeah, right. you'd be on valid footing. It's just yet another point of you guys are bad at doing lawyering. You're really bad. Yeah. It's just hilarious to me. Oh, we'll use this trick. It's nah, you're supposed to even I know that you're supposed to be I object. But if you don't object, then you're saying that what is going on is fine. Henceforth, what is your purpose? You can't do it after the fact. It doesn't work.
Right.
Like that.
But by all intents and purposes, she delivered the story the prosecution wanted her to deliver. She didn't, again, walk face first into a lot of the defense issues. And they were basically trying to like weirdly they were trying to like frame her as like, oh well, you're a porn star, so clearly you loved having sex with this powerful man. And she's like, what do you think we do? And they're like, oh, in the porn industry, like you guys make up stories all the time and film them. So like, of course you're making up a story here on the stand that out of whole cloth. And she's like, yeah, she's like, the plots are made up, but the sex is quite real, as it was in this case. Which, doesn't seem like it's
and that's a terrible argument, right? So look, I would not categorize as a person who is into cinema, I would not categorize pornography as necessarily being like top tier cinema. But at the same time, like, you're right, they're making up these stories. It is fake, but the sex is very real. Trump is on a reality TV show. So is your argument that we know that a lot of that stuff is pre-written and manufactured so that everything that he says is also a lie? Is that the argument? Because it's not a very good one. Like, that doesn't help your client.
Also, just really like an old-fashioned view of the pornography industry. Like, I think people have a little bit more common sense to understand, that it's not just like, oh, like you do porn, so you must be a fucking slut. Like, no, like I do porn because I get paid to have sex. Like, it's a job like any other. So
it's a job. I mean, yeah, they probably enjoy having sex. I would hope so. It'd be weird if you hated it and you still did pornography. That would be strange. But that doesn't make you a sexual fiend, right? Like, and I'm sure there'd be some people listening like, no, it does, but maybe not. Like, maybe it's just like, this is what I do. Look, I got the equipment that allows me to get paid for this, and this is what I want to do, right? But just because, even if you are a hypersexual person or you're quote unquote a fiend about it or what have you, you're still entitled to your human rights. Like, it doesn't mean you just your ability to have sex or not have sex with somebody is then thrown away because you're a porn actress. Like, that is irrelevant. She still is having sex by her own volition. Like, it's not, you don't get to do whatever you want. Look, I find this entire case to be odd, right? Because, go ahead.
Well, that and we kind of skipped over the other the other part, because apparently on the first day of testimony, while she was testifying, Trump started like cursing audibly at the defense table, and making like very obvious like gestures and stuff like that, I guess in response to things she was saying. And like Marshawn had to call the attorneys to the bench. And we're like, look, like, I get that he's upset. I brought you up here because I'm not trying to embarrass him. He's going to hold himself into contempt because he's trying to intimidate the witness. Yeah. So tell him to knock it the fuck off.
This is my kind of judge, man. I like this guy.
Yeah, I mean, well, and just like he's such a fucking baby that like, and I knew that we'd get to this point. Because again, like Trump, we saw it when he came in or when he was running for president in 2016. What was one of his famous lines in 2016 when he was running for president? Only I can fix it. Me. Yeah. Like you need me in there. I'm the guy that knows everything. I think deep down, no matter what defense they mount for him, in the back of his mind, he's thinking,
I could do better.
These fucking attorneys don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
And the only person that's going to win this case for me is me. And so he's going to try 100%. to do what he can to influence things. So,
I mean, look, here's the thing. The Stormy Daniels part is like the big salacious one, right? Like of all of this trial, it's the big salacious one. It's like, oh, porn star. She looks like a porn star. Like, it's like she's got the look of like, in your mind of what a porn star looks like. I mean, she's older now, but like certainly back then she did. And even still now. But the Karen McDougal part of this story, that's the one that I think is going to really, if any of this shit is going to resonate inside Trump world where people are like, ooh, that's not good, it's going to be that one. Because it sounds like she was like legitimately in love with that dude. And I think like, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy It's absolutely insane. But when you like the things that she said in the past, she was in love with that guy, and I think that's the one that like really kind of pisses Melania off. It's like, oh, you want it? Like, I get wanting to sleep with like Tits McGee over here. Like, I understand that. Like, you're a piece of shit for that. Like I'm. It's not like I didn't marry you just for your money, right? Like, so she can understand that kind of behavior. But I think he legitimately liked Karen McDougal, and she definitely was like kind of in love with him. And that case, when that woman goes to testify, is going to be like, oh, please stop talking, because that one is.
Oh, is she testifying?
I thought that she's supposed to testify.
I'm not sure about that. I thought her story was just to kind of no. I think the story of her case was just to create a pattern of behavior. Like David Pecker talked a lot about the Karen McDougal thing because it kind of laid the precedent down for, hey, when these stories come out that are inconvenient for Trump, like, you know, we had this agreement with him to sweep them under the rug, but we stopped doing it because he started not paying us back for the money that we were paying to kill these fucking things, and that's why
she actually has now decided that she's not going to testify.
Yeah, and it was in question, but because Trump reneged on paying Pecker back for the first two stories that came out when the Stormy Daniels thing happened, he was like, I'm not fronting the money for this. Like, if you want to kill this, like, you need to pay for it yourself. And that's where the Michael Cohen thing came into play.
He's so cheap.
I know. It would be the funniest thing ever if he fucking did himself in just by being a cheap ass. So
yeah. Like, dude, you're a billionaire. Just pay it off. Like, if you're gonna just pay them off. And the funny thing is, if you just pay them off with your money, no one would have known.
Nobody would have ever known.
Nobody would know. But you're so your level of cheapness had them bouncing this money all around. You could have just been like, you could have just fucking paid straight cash. Been like, boom, there you go, shut up.
Yep.
But
indeed.
So from there we get the Michael Cohen testimony, which is interesting, right? This picture, by the way, for the AP, this picture is fucking wonderful. Like, Michael Cohen in the back, like, yes, let's do crimes together. So Cohen says that everything required Mr. Trump's sign-offs, right? Like, he was intimately involved in just about every step of the way through this process, right? He also says that the person who came up with the locker room talk argument against the Hollywood, what was it? The
Access Hollywood tape.
Access Hollywood tape, where he's like, it's grabbed by the pussy. The person who came up with the just spin it as locker room talk was Melania. Now that is fucking funny. Proving, by the way, what I've always thought about Melania is a business partner. She doesn't they're married, and again, she might be reportedly pretty mad about the Karen McDougal thing, just again because like it seemed like they might have actually like really liked each other, and I think that kind of offended her. But she don't give a fuck. She's not an innocent person in all of this. Like, I think he treats that woman like dog shit. But at the same time, I have a hard time caring. Like, I really do.
Yeah.
And especially when she does stuff like this.
Even back in, I believe this was part of the Stormy Daniels testimony, like, somehow it came up about his wife, and he was like, no big, even back, this is back in 2006, like, after they just had a kid, where it's just like, oh, we don't even sleep in the same bed anyway. Like, they hadn't even married that fucking long.
No. Well, and there was an interview with her not too long ago where they asked her, like, did you marry Trump for his money? And her response basically was, do you think he would have married me if I wasn't beautiful? So, I mean,
pretty good.
That's a pretty good response. Like, that's not bad. Yeah. Like, I gotta give her credit. Because it's basically like, yeah, he wouldn't have married me if I was some fucking ugly person. So, like, what the fuck do you think? You think I'm marrying this asshole because I think he's handsome? Get out of here. Like, get out of here. No, I want that money. So, yeah, it's, look, I mean, Cohen is dropping some pretty good dimes, I think, on this. I mean, again, saying that Trump is a part of the situation every step of the way, as far as this like repayment and him fronting the money and paying him back and all this other shit, and writing it off and all that. That's the crux of the trial, right? The crux of the trial is not, did Donald Trump sleep with Stormy Daniels? Did Donald Trump sleep with Karen McDougal? It's, did Donald Trump try to cover this up financially using using basically campaign money and writing this off? The answer seems to be yes. So
Yeah.
if, again, it seems like a slam dunk case. Somebody got really mad at me because I said that on social media. And I'm like, why do you think Michael Cohen went to jail? You think Michael Cohen fronted $150,000 just out of the kindness of his heart? You can't possibly be that stupid.
Well, and even people that have been like when Hope Hicks testified, and people that reported on this, they were like, she went out of her way to make it known, even though she was a prosecution witness, like she still holds Trump in very high regard. I mean, she loves steaming those pants. But at the same, like when the prosecution asked her, like, does Michael Cohen just going out of his way, paying $130,000 to silence the story seem like something that's in line with what you know about him? She was like, that's not like a Michael Cohen thing to do out of the goodness of his heart.
No, why would it be? I mean,
right.
But like even logically, why would he pay it off?
Right, or without expecting to be reimbursed.
Right. I work for a supposed billionaire, but I'm going to take $130,000 of my money. Didn't he put like a second mortgage on his house to do this?
He took a home equity line, of credit against his home.
He did this just because he opened up
an LLC to launder the money through, essentially.
Right.
To keep it hidden.
Right, but you believe he did this just because he likes Trump.
And believe that he did it because he wanted to spare like Melania the embarrassment. No, he did it because he was trying to make sure that it didn't come out and harm the campaign.
That's it.
So,
I mean, my God, look at the image at the top of this article. This guy is doing crimes. Like, that is a crimes face. So, yeah, look, it's getting a little crazy, but it's going exactly how I expected it to go. And I think it is highly unlikely that he does not get convicted of this. Again, pretty fucking straightforward. So
yeah,
and we literally have audio tapes. Like, Lordy, they're tapes.
Now again, to be fair, like Michael Cohen has first day of testimony today. I think he's testifying again tomorrow as we're recording this, and he has not been cross-examined yet. So I'm sure the defense is going to paint him as a liar, and he was charged with lying to Congress and lying to the FBI. So like that's not generally a great witness if you're the prosecution, had to put on the stand. But then again, like when you prosecute mob bosses, it's not like you have like Boy Scouts to be able to testify on your behalf. Right. So
you're a liar. Yeah, I lied for the guy that you're defending. Like, that was my whole job. I'm a mob lawyer. That's my job, right? So
it will be interesting to see the defense that Trump's team mounts, like the witnesses that they call, like, and what they're gonna testify to.
I have to imagine, like you said, they go after Cohen solely on the basis of you're a convicted liar. Why should anyone believe you? It's like, I only lied about being a thief. Like you're a thief and a liar. I only lied about being a thief. So you're saying
that he's going to like reconcile with his wife at the end of this ordeal, Michael Cohen.
I mean, why would he not? It's just how the story goes. All right, let's talk about Judge Elaine Cannon, everyone's favorite justice cockblocker. I think maybe the proper term.
So here's the problem with Aileen Cannon. So she's overseeing the documents trial.
Brad, we don't have that kind of time for this story. We don't have enough time to go through all of the things that are wrong with it.
Yes. So she has continually raised questions about procedures, about evidence in this case, about things that should be seen or not seen because we're dealing with classified documents, things like that. And the problem is that in holding hearings to resolve these questions that she is raising, she continues to just keep kicking the can down the road and keeps pushing dates out and stuff like that, to the point now where she basically has decided that there's no way that we're going to be able to resolve all of these issues that I have created for us before the election happens. and have a trial before the election happens. So we're just going to go ahead and postpone. We're going to go and postpone the trial indefinitely,
Right.
while we get all this shit figured out. So effectively, Eileen Cannon, through either her inexperience or her partisanship, or some combination of both, more likely, has effectively taken one of the chess pieces off the board for Donald Trump. In one of the other cases, well, for now, and forever if he wins the election somehow.
Right. No, the reason why, yes, obviously. No, the reason why I say for now is unless she's removed from this case, right? There is a very good argument to be made that she should be pulled from this case.
But even if that happens, a new judge is not going to be able to come in, get up to speed, resolve these questions, and all this shit before November. Effectively, this case is not happening in any way, shape, or form before November. So again, if Trump is going to be held accountable for incorrectly stealing classified documents from the White House and keeping them for multiple years and not giving them back when requested by the National Archives and the FBI, it will have to be only if he loses the election, and also probably, to your point, only if a new judge is assigned to the case. I mean, you could make the argument, and you would need more proof to do it. This is borderline and impeachable offense on her behalf.
Oh, I would argue you're absolutely right. Like, look, so let's break this down into two parts, because I think it's worth understanding. You mentioned her inexperience, because I don't think a lot of people realize quite how inexperienced she is as a judge. Mm-hmm. The article says some of Cannon's approaches may be explained by inexperience. She has not been a judge for very long. Her appointment by Donald Trump came despite her having limited trial experience. How limited? She spent 14 days trying 4 criminal trials before being tapped for her current position as a federal lifetime judge. 14 days. 2 weeks is the most she spent doing any criminal trial work. She also has reportedly had 2 law clerks resign in 1 year, which is pretty much unheard of, right? Mm-hmm. My guess is, this is my guess, is that they see how unbelievably incompetent she is, and they don't want to be tied to her when they go up for perhaps being a judge later in their career. So that's a huge part of it. The other one is her actions during the steps of the case, right? Because there are things about this that are really quite ridiculous. The first one was the Trump team argued that they needed a special master, right? Which was ironic, because when they got a special master in another case, they flipped the fuck out about it. But they're like, no. We need a special master. We didn't know we could slow roll this shit. We need a special master. And she was like, yeah, no, that makes sense. Let's grind the case to a fucking halt, get a special master. And the appellate court above her was like, nice try. I don't fucking think so. We're going to reverse that. You're not getting a special master. This is bullshit. Please proceed. So that was the first big one. After that, Trump's team...
Didn't she try to restrict the government from being able to see some of the documents that were...
Yes.
That were there? And again, she was, again, on appeal, unanimously overruled by a three judge panel, again. Yeah, being I don't know what the fuck she's thinking. It doesn't make any sense. It's literally the crux of the case.
Right. If you're gonna be corrupt, at least try not to look super obvious about it.
Right.
But again, when you're very inexperienced, it's easy to do this, right? Or easy to fuck it up. They also wanted. Cannon also basically said Trump's team wanted to argue in its defense that Trump was authorized to identify any documents he wanted as personal records. This is clearly not the case, because, of course, that's the crux of the case. Mm-hmm. But Cannon, in mid-March, ordered both sides to draft jury instructions that treated the argument as viable. Now, the details of that are really interesting. Basically, she was like, listen, you need to allow the jury to see all the documents.
Yeah, the jury needs to step in as the Supreme Court here and weigh how the Presidential Records Act should be enforced. is basically it's basically the crux. And Jack Smith is like, actually, the Supreme Court should probably be the ones that weigh in on how the Presidential Records Act should be enforced.
Right, and it's hilarious, right? Because she's like, listen, they should be able, no. Just keep in mind, previously, she's like, the government shouldn't be able to see all these documents. Okay, but now the jurors should be able to see all of the documents. Okay, what is the government's role in this case? Are they allowed to be in the courtroom at all? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's not even consistent through her nonsense, right? So she says the jury needs to be able to see all of the documents. And the obvious question to that is they don't have clearance, so how could that be possible, right? Like, you can't then just go, well, you're on the jury, you get fucking the highest clearance a president has. Like, that's not how that works. There's certain documents they can't see. Now, there's some they can, but there's certain ones I'm sure that they could probably like declassify or lower the classification or something.
Or they could redact or,
redact it, right? Some sort of stuff. Yeah. But they're not going to just let you see carte blanche, whatever the fuck you want. Now, the other side of that is she said, well, she gave them an out. Well, if they can't see everything, then you need to write a draft of a document that says, basically, you need to acquit the former president. Like, that's not how that works. So that was bullshit immediately, right? To me, that ruling should have gotten her kicked off of this case. This is insane. After that, there was the Classified Information Procedures Act. There was a debate over that, or SIPA, which covers the handling of classified materials in criminal proceedings. Under Section 5 of SIPA, defendants have to inform the government about which documents they plan to use at trial. The deadline for doing so was originally set for mid-November. Shortly before that deadline, Cannon pushed the deadline out, saying that she would set a new one after hearings in early March. Why? Because reasons.
Just cause.
Just cause, bro. It wasn't until early April, right? As it was reported, that Cannon set a new deadline for May 9th. So I'm going to set it for early March. And then March goes, oh, it's April now? Okay, let's set it for May. What? Okay. So the new deadline was May 9th, a bit before the June 17th date Trump's team won it initially, which is nearly 6 months from its original deadline. After its original deadline. The May 20th trial date start, already wobbly, was about to topple over. So she pushed and pushed and pushed. Oh, well, we're too close. We're too close, guys. Why don't we just push it back? So again, when people say, I saw a guy who got pissed off at me, said, no, this is bullshit. You just don't like her because she's not a Democrat. One, I don't know what party she's in. But I'm like...
Don't you though, Jay? Don't you though?
But I don't know. But I don't. But it's not because she's not a Democrat or that she's liberal. It's because she's doing things that are outside of what the procedure to run a case is. That's the problem. It's not.
Yeah, like if you're getting
actions are.
If you're making several rulings in the same case that are being overturned unanimously on appeal, you're fucking up. Like that. I mean that's the bottom line. At the end of the day, and I am one to ascribe. I'm a big believer in the saying, "Don't confuse malice, which can be easily explained as incompetence or stupidity." Yep. I do believe that, and I think it's like an 80-20 incompetence to partisanship ratio with Eileen Cannon. I think she truly does not know what the fuck she is doing, and probably shouldn't be a federal judge. It's almost like. She should not have been appointed in the first place.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't think it's all incompetence, but I certainly think there's a decent amount of it. I mean, that timeline of what I just read to you, the SIPA one, that reeks of incompetence.
Right.
Right? It's just like, May, June, we can't do it. It's like, that reeks of incompetence. And like you wrote in the docket, she's not willing to answer questions that she herself has raised, right? Like that's why we are where we are right now. This is not a Judge Chutkan situation where she is being like Judge Chutkan is being stymied by the Supreme Court dragging their fucking feet. That's a partisanship issue.
That's something that's obviously happening because they are trying to slow roll the case as much as possible. I'm pretty sure because they don't want to be seen as tipping the scales one way or the other. They want to let, quote unquote, the voters decide, even though the voters deciding who's president has nothing to do with whether Donald Trump is held criminally liable for alleged crimes that he committed. Right. But that's like the Supreme Court's probably reasoning that they have in their head is like, oh, we're going to do everything we can to let the election happen unimpeded.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jay, okay. There is a former wrestler, beloved, his character back in the WWF in the olden days, but went by the name of Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. Yes. And of course, his famed slogan, Jay, his famed catchphrase is, everybody has a price for the $1 Million Man.
And he ain't wrong, buddy. He ain't wrong.
Adjusted for inflation.
Yeah, the $1 Billion Man.
That's right.
Should I Photoshop Trump's face on Ted DiBiase's body?
Yes.
I think that makes sense.
Yes. You've probably done it before, I feel like. I feel like this has already happened.
No. I would remember. I feel like somebody's getting a face swap. Okay. So Donald Trump has put a literal price on the future of the planet. This is I don't want to say an unbelievable story. It's totally believable. It's a disgusting story.
Here's what I'll say. I'm going to give credit to the man on the other side of the microphone here for me, because Jay has been steadfast in saying for years on this podcast, even before I was a regular host on this podcast, that the most important case and the thing that we need to do in order to truly begin to repair politics in this country is the Citizens United case. Yep. And the fact that unlimited dark money can flow in to campaigns is truly the thing that ills politics. And this story is exactly why.
Yeah, look, it is unreal, right? So Esquire is quoting from the Washington Post story. I highly recommend you read either, right, to get all of details. But I want to hit on some of the big points. So Trump was at he said, I don't remember where the hell this place was, somewhere overlooking the ocean. So very fancy. And so he had this. I think it was at Mar-a-Lago actually. Okay, so he's at Mar-a-Lago. He gets all these like big time oil executives and their fucking representatives all to come down to Mar-a-Lago, right? And to quote this Washington Post article, Trump's response stunning several of the executives in the room overlooking the ocean. You're all wealthy enough, he said, that you should raise $1 billion to return me to the White House. At the dinner, he vowed to immediately reverse dozens of President Biden's environmental rules and policies and stop new ones from being enacted. According to people with knowledge of the meeting who spoke on the condition of anonymity to describe a private conversation, giving $1 billion would be, quote, a deal, Trump said, because of the taxation and regulation that they would avoid thanks to him, according to the people. Trump's remarkably blunt and transactional pitch reveals how the former president is targeting the oil industry to finance his re-election bid. At the same time, he has turned to the industry to help shape his environmental agenda for the second term, including rollbacks of some of Biden's signature achievements on clean energy and electric vehicles. So, in summary, standing in front of a room full of oil executives, you guys give me $1 billion for my campaign, I'll give you whatever you want. It quite literally says, on day one, I will end the Biden administration's freeze on permits for new liquefied natural gas exports, which is a top priority for these executives, according to 3 people who were present. Quote, you'll get it on day one. So that whole idea of I'll be a dictator on day one, he will be a sellout to the oil industry on day one is what he really means, right? Arctic drilling, all sorts of things were up for grabs.
There's so many aspects of the story that are so problematic. The first one, obviously, how is this legal? To be clear, what he did, soliciting $1 billion in campaign money from oil executives and promising them a quid pro quo of, hey, you do this for me, I will do this for you, is legal. There's nothing illegitimate or illegal about him soliciting that money from these oil executives. It feels illegal. It should be illegal, but somehow it's not illegal. That's number one. Number two, if this doesn't proof positive show you why it is so important for people running for president to be incredibly transparent about their financial situation, why it's so important to understand how someone's finances are before they become the leader of the country, this is why. We're fortunate enough to know about some of Trump's debts because we've seen them happen in real time. Right. Of course he's asking for $1 billion because he owes $500 million to the state of New York and E. Jean Carroll. Of course, and the RNC is bleeding money, and they're not having as much money coming in. And he's got even more legal woes, and he's got even more cases that he needs to have attorneys for. And oh, by the way, I don't know if you know this, it costs like $1 billion to fucking run a presidential campaign in this day and age. Yeah. So yeah, of course he needs $1 billion.
And look, by the way, I don't know if you heard this. There is a potential IRS audit that's coming that could cost him $100 million.
Cool.
Yeah.
Just keep piling up. Yeah. So yeah. And again, this is what we know about. And if he's willing to reach out to oil execs in the US and be like, give me $1 billion, you'll make a 5 times investment. He's right, by the way. What's going to happen as we get closer and he gets more desperate? And what happens when he starts peaking? I mean, shit, if you're dealing with oil companies, you're kind of already peaking overseas a little bit. But, right. What's going to happen? Yeah, what's going to happen when he really just blatantly is asking foreign governments for money to get in and I'll do whatever you want me to do.
I mean, I feel like we're already there, right? Like you're right. I mean, it's not like, are we pretending like Exxon and Chevron and all these companies they're not loyal to the United States, right?
Yeah, but what if it's like Aramco, like we will put, which is the Saudi-owned oil company in Saudi Arabia, we'll put tariffs on every foreign oil company besides you, and we'll make sure that that your oil is the oil. Like there's a whole slew of shit that he could do. That's incredibly corrupt.
And this is the problem with money in politics. Money is fungible, right? So you don't have to get that money directly from a foreign entity.
Right.
They can pipe that money through one of these massive, international businesses, right? That are registered inside the United States, but they're not really. I mean,
yeah. What if there was a Saudi owned entity called, like, we'll just I'm picking a name out there, the Private Investment Fund. And what if the Private Investment Fund owned like a golf tour? They could call it like Live Golf or something like that. I don't know what they call it. They call it like Live Golf, and it's owned by a private investment fund. And oh man, isn't that weird? Like the guy running for president owns several golf courses around the world. Wouldn't it be cool if Live Golf held their events at a lot of these Trump events? And think how much money they could pay the golf course to it's not even a hard stretch to get to how the money could easily be laundered through quote unquote legitimate channels to get over to this guy.
And that's the problem. Money in politics is the single worst situation. Everything else is a byproduct of money in politics. Everything. You got a foreign policy issue, money in politics. You got a domestic policy issue, money in politics. Oh, you hate that kids are getting shot in schools? Money in politics.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the NRA being able to buy politicians, this shit would have been done a long time ago, I'm sure.
Look, I know it is super easy, and I don't want to give them credit, right? I know it's super, super easy to think that every single Republican who has a Christmas picture with a fucking AR-15 and all this other horse shit really believes that. But I know human beings. I've been on this earth for almost 45 years. Check the gray. It's coming in fast and furious. People will do and say things that they do not believe when there is money involved. If they believe that they can get more people giving money to their campaign they can get more money from the NRA or any other parts of the gun lobby because they pose with a gun and all this other shit, or get their kids to pose with a gun, or say some dumb shit about guns, or go and pass some legislation. They will do that even when they don't give a fuck about guns.
Yeah.
Right? Or like they may be gun advocates, but they're not gun nuts. But they'll pretend to be, because if they're not, they can't win elections and they can't get their pockets lined for money. So when you tell me that taking money out of politics wouldn't affect shootings of kids in schools, you're wrong. It absolutely would. Why can't we there's 70-80% of Americans support gun legislation.
Well, that's the thing.
Why do you think that they won't vote? They won't vote in the way that the vast majority of Americans are, because their pockets are lined, right? You want Democrats to stop sucking up to corporations and be more hardline in helping Americans even more than they try to do now? Money in politics, dude. You think you couldn't move all of those like middle ground douchebag Democrats off of some of their bullshit? Yeah, you could if you took the money out of their fucking pockets from their healthcare organizations or companies and all that stuff. Money in politics is the single most damaging thing that has happened to our democracy, bar none. Bar none. And it's the one thing, if you fixed it tomorrow and you were like, corporations can't give unlimited money in campaigns and politicians cannot accept money from outside corporations in any way, shape, or form, all of a sudden you'd see votes change unbelievably, because the people who could give them money are the people who vote for them. And then they'd have onus to them and them only. Oh, correct. Shit, 70% of my constituents want me to change on gun control? Well, if I want to keep my ass here, I better fucking do it, or I got to go. It's not that hard. It's actually very simple. Now, the question is, it's like... if you want to lose weight, you just eat less food and move your ass. It's easy. Like, the calculation is super easy, but doing it is the difficult part.
Yes.
It's
well,
not
and again, that's because we have a law on the books that says it's okay for Correct. All this unaccountable money to just flow in unimpeded into super PACs and things of that nature. Thanks again, John Roberts. You are the coolest. Yeah, no, you really fucked the democracy up. And by the way, it was already fucked because this has been allowed for so long. But you opened the floodgates and made it 1,000 times worse. Right? And this is the natural endpoint: is the guy running for president literally just soliciting straight up money from oil companies and allowing that to dictate. Now, do you think Donald Trump, without this $1 billion, is going to come in on day one and sign like his version of like the Green New Deal? Absolutely not. I would hope these guys are smart enough to realize that they're going to probably get what they want anyway, regardless of whether they give him money or not, which is probably why they're not going to give him $1 billion. But at the same time, like, just being so nakedly transparent about it is that's where we're at because of Citizens United. So yeah, no, it's ridiculous. I do want to read this last bit of this quote from this story because I have a second little mini story to go along with proving how ridiculous Republicans are. So check this out. So at a fundraiser on Saturday in Palm Beach, Florida, Doug Berman, who is the governor of, as this article says, the petro state of North Dakota. It's really funny. Doug Berman told donors that Trump would halt Biden's attack on fossil fuels, according to the recording of his remarks obtained by the Washington Post. That would be the number one thing the president could do on day one. It stops a hostile attack against all Americans' energy, and I mean all, Bergman said. Whether it's base load electricity, whether it's oil, whether it's gas, whether it's ethanol, there's an attack on liquid fuels. Bergman also criticizes the Biden administration's policy on gas stoves and vehicles with internal combustion engines, claiming that would prevent consumers from buying both technologies. I'm going to get back to that in a second. While the Energy Department recently set new efficiency standards for gas stoves, they would not affect the stoves in people's kitchens or those currently on the market. Quote, they've got some liberal ideas about what products we need. You all need EVs. You don't need internal combustion. We'll decide what kind of car you're going to drive, and we're going to regulate the other ones out of business. I mean, it's just in every industry, not just cars, not just energy. They're telling people what stoves you can buy.
This is not America. Okay. Doug Berman is an asshole, and Doug Berman is also a fucking liar. Okay, the guy is a huge asshole, but more than that, he's a massive, massive fucking liar. And what I mean by that, right? So stupid. His point about the gas stoves is I've heard Republicans say this, like, oh, they're coming for your stoves. They're gonna make all your stoves what? Electric? Like, no. Okay, that one. Electric stoves suck. Okay, like I'll be the first one to admit that I do not like cooking on electric stove. I prefer a gas stove. But his point about this is so fucking silly. One, the EV thing. They're gonna make you drive EVs. That's not what the mandate says. The mandate says that internal combustion engine cars need to meet certain standards, right? Certain levels of pollution reduced coming out of the tailpipe. They don't have anything for EVs because they don't. Okay, I don't think I need to finish that sentence. It's so fucking stupid, right? The stoves, right? The stoves are an efficiency standard. Hey, man, we would like to make sure that electric and gas stoves that come out, I shit you not, because I found this fucking story because I wanted to have like direct quotes about this. This is a Washington Post story from January of this year, the end of January of this year. They're asking, the standard is stoves manufactured in 2028 or later. I'm not sure Joe Biden's even going to be alive in 2028. Okay, if we're being honest here, I hate to say that. But it would just increase the standards. By the way, most stoves sold now, electric or gas, meet the minimum requirements of the thing that happens in 2028. So it's not like all of the stoves are bad. No, they just
Also, by the way, like, I don't know if anyone listening has bought an appliance in the past 10 years.
You're right.
Bought a car in the past 10 years. When you're shopping, one of the things that I guarantee that you look at and use as a factor in your decision making is that big yellow energy guide sticker that's on the fucking price tag that shows you approximately how much per month it's going to cost to use this appliance based on how much energy it's putting out. And if you have to choose between two equally performing appliances, you're probably going to take the one that's going to cost you less in energy costs out of pocket. I would imagine that's going to be a determining factor. So making stoves and cars and other appliances and whatever more efficient is what people want. And by the way, government restrictions are a nice, impetus for companies to do it. They'd be doing it anyway because that's how you stay competitive in the fucking marketplace. You idiots who claim to think that you know what a free market economy is, but demonstrate every single day that you have no fucking idea what it actually is in practice.
Right. And look, let's also be honest here. I don't know if people know this. You get a tax break for buying energy efficient appliances. Like you do. Like that's the thing. Like, oh, I bought a new fridge this year, and they're like, oh, was it energy efficient? Yes, it was. Oh, here's fucking 2% off or whatever, right? Like EVs, they are government they're incentivized because they're trying to help the environment, right? So, Brett, if you had to guess, if you had to throw out a number, what is the number of gas stoves right now on the market?
That exists on the market, or that are in homes,
or is it like in homes on the market, like that are available in any way. What is the percent of them that you think don't meet the efficiency standard that's coming in 2028, 4 years from now?
So as far as ones for sale now, I would imagine that. Okay. So the one for sale now, I would imagine that number is less than 5%, if it's even a percent. It could be less than 1%.
It's 3% of all of all gas stoves.
Right.
And 23% of electric stoves. That's it. That's it. Now, ironically, everyone says, "Oh, electric stoves are so much better." 23% of them don't meet the standard, which is funny. But again, it's electric, so that's a lot easier to move the needle on those, right?
Right.
But again, they're not saying if you have a gas stove or you have an electric stove that falls into
the government's going to fucking come into your house and rip it out of the wall.
The fucking wall. But I don't understand this argument against it because we do this with cars all the time. Hey, the government goes to car manufacturers and they're like, listen, by 2028 or whatever future year, we want to get the miles per gallon minimum up to a certain point. And the car companies go, oh shit, okay, no problem. And you know why? Because it's more efficient. And you know who complains about that? No Americans. You know why? Because every American's like, oh shit, this Honda gets 50 miles per gallon? That's awesome. No one's like, I wish it only got 12. No one makes that argument. No one.
Jay, would you believe that Republicans might just be trying to fearmonger voters into voting for them?
I would believe that.
I love the mindset that they're just like, man, if it wasn't for those damn Democrats, there wouldn't be an EV on the market at all right now. And we're just like, you do realize that like car companies have been trying to make EVs for like a really long time, and that EVs have been on the market
like since the late '80s, dude. Like the late
'80s. And that EV cars have been on the market for a really long time. Like the Prius has been around a while. I don't think people realize that at this point. Yeah. Like it's almost 20 years old at this point.
It again, to your earlier point, people arguing against the free market but swear they are like free market capitalists. Like this is the free market, by the way. Hey, someone is making EVs and people aren't having to pay for gas, and it's it's environmentally more efficient. It's more cost effective for a lot of people. XYZ. We need to get rid of it. I thought you guys were. Never mind. Like it's really weird.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, look, fucking Toyota made an EV, we got to make an EV. Oh shit, look, fucking Honda made an EV, we got to make an EV. Ford made an EV, we got to make like it's.
That's just what it is.
Because there's a demand in the a growing demand in the marketplace.
Look, I used to have Teslas, right? And then that guy lost his mind. I was like, okay, we're done here. But the next car I bought, it's also an EV. I have an EV as well. So it's like I'm married to the technology, man. I'm not married to the car company. I don't give a shit about that.
Turns out not having to buy gas fucking rules. Yeah.
Also, gas is really expensive where I live. Someone was like, "Oh, this is how much it is." I'm like, that sounds like a you problem. Like, hell no, dude. Holy shit, are you kidding me? So, I don't.
But, and by the way, all these people that hate green energy, put fucking solar panels on a Republican's house, and then like watch their eyes when they get their first energy bill, and then like marvel at how little cost, or actually, oh, by the way, you've generated so much energy, you don't owe any money this month, and you've got a credit on your next bill because you've fed so much energy back into the grid that you are actually supplying us with energy. Thank you very much, sir. And you're going to tell me that Republicans are still going to be like, oh, fucking damn liberals, and that no, they're going to be like, oh, this fucking rocks. Yeah. I want solar panels on all my shit now. Can I put it on my car so can I to power my EV? Like this will be awesome.
Yeah, I mean. I have this idea for a rant that's like an hour long that I would have to just like deeply research. But here's the crux of this rant. This is a future project. This is a long future project. Republicans are wrong about every major thing in the last 50 years. You know what? 44 years.
I can summarize your rant in 5 seconds.
Every major topic they've been wrong about.
I can summarize your rant in 5 seconds.
Go ahead.
Progress is inevitable. Stop fighting it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but they're all like, it's not even just fighting. Like, you guys are legitimately wrong about it, right? Like, why are we fighting about the environment? Okay, when the tornadoes take everyone's house and as it's being thrown into the air and you look down and go, oh, there's a tsunami coming too. Man, I wonder if the environment is not doing well. liberals will be there and go, yeah, dude, we told you that like 25 years ago. Like every single thing that they push on, they've been wrong about. Every major thing. They think because they prove something right, half-assed, by the way, for 5 minutes that they're correct, right? Not to get into it because again, this is an hour-long rant that I have, but gay marriage. What was the big argument? It's going to ruin marriage, right? What happened? It seems fine. Marriages seem fine. The divorce rate has not changed. Straight people are not being forced into gay marriage camps, right? It was going to ruin marriage. It was going to destroy the sanctity of marriage. It didn't, right? Transgender people, they're going to ruin America. They're not. Gay folks, they're going to ruin America. They didn't. They opened great restaurants and made awesome music. I'm sorry. Made great neighborhoods. Right? Black people, they're going to ruin everything. They didn't. We can't let Latin people in. They're going to ruin America. Oh, by the way, where's all our vegetables and fruit? Oh, my God. Oh, thank God they're back. Oh, good. Oh, America, unruined. Right? Yeah. Ronald Reagan. Oh, he's the greatest president ever. Oh, he did such a great job. Trickle-down economics. Oh, it makes sense. It turns out he destroyed the economy. Fucked the entire economy up for the next 40 years. Everything that they rant about being correct on in the last, you could go further back, but I'll give you the start of Reagan forward. Every major argument they've ever made, they've been wrong about. Every single one. Either wrong or completely hypocritical about it. 100%.
I mean, if you want to yell about, just have an hour where we yell about Ronald Reagan. I can't wait for that episode. It's great.
Special episode. Look forward. Special episode. Ronald Reagan fucking sucks. But you can draw direct lines out of his administration and out of his policies of how fucked America is today. So yeah, every single major argument Republicans rant about, they have been wrong, and I hold to that. You name a major policy, anything they've talked about, they've been wrong about. Everyone, they reverse on all of them. The second, oh shit, it's working. Oh, fucking scuttle, and they reverse.
But that's
every single.
That's the nature, though, of your identity as a political party, to either being to halt or to regress.
Yep.
Societal progress. Like again, it's in the name, conservative, to conserve.
Right. And look, and the thing is, I don't think conservatism fundamentally is wrong. You need to understand history, and you need to have some levels of roots in your history. That makes sense. You can't just trash everything and go to the future. Like, you have to. Otherwise, you do lose things. However, that's not what they are actually doing. What they do is go, plant my flag in the sand. Nothing else changes. This is the perfect date, 1952.
The best time in American history is 1957. Everything must be as it was in 1957.
Right. So. And it's but that doesn't make any sense. Oh, I already said 57. Sorry, can't move on that. Goalpost, can't move. Right? So, but until they
let's bring back marginal tax rates. Get your fucking liberal nonsense out of here.
Yeah, no.
Because there's always something.
Right. 1957, not like that. Right? So that's kind of what it is. But no, I challenge any Republican on that. Every major thing that you guys have pushed in the last 40 some odd years, you've been wrong about. Every single one of them. All of them.
Yeah, that's getting clipped out for TikTok, 100%.
Yes, and let's start moving ourselves into building to Jay's rant, because I got one of brewing. I got one of brewing this episode. All right, Large Marge is back this week. Didn't seem to go well for her, Brad.
No,
are we shocked by this?
No, not at all. Was booed actually by her own party, introducing the motion to remove Mike Johnson as she introduced it on the floor. Brought it up, was booed, screamed something about how look America, this is the uniparty in action, wow, like all this fucking nonsense. And then the resolution got tabled before it even got a chance to be voted on by a count of 359 to 43.
Good.
Yeah.
It's part of me wanted the chaos. I gotta tell you. I mean, I've said that on the show. I kind of wanted them to just fuck it up.
As long as it's not your party doing the chaos, and as long as there's not like crazy like must pass legislation that has to happen, yeah, who doesn't like a good Republican shooting themselves in the foot constantly?
Yeah, I know I do. So look, most of the Republicans who joined Marjorie Taylor Greene, in their push to consider ousting Johnson, were members of the far right House Freedom Caucus. Now here's the thing: what does this do to Marjorie Taylor Greene's power in the House? Do you think it's done? You think she flew too close to the sun?
Well, so it's funny you mentioned that, because I found it notable. You know who did not weigh in on this vote until after the vote had failed?
Yes, I know, the former president.
Donald Trump decided to wait until after everything was resolved to be like, I didn't want to do this anyway, actually, at the first place.
Yeah, you fucking coward. Fuck you.
But still praised Marjorie Taylor Greene for being willing to fight and having great spirit and this and everything. So I don't know. Like, I think one thing that does help her in this situation is that this went to the floor knowing that it wasn't going to get anywhere. Like it eventually turned into kind of a publicity stunt of sorts. We accomplished nothing by even doing this.
Yeah,
so.
Zero things. Look, ultimately, I guess I'm glad it failed. Again, I would have loved the chaos of all of this, but I'm glad it failed from the perspective of it embarrasses her, and it embarrasses the House Freedom Caucus. So I'm cool with it. All right, let us begin. All right. The next 1, 2, 3 stories and 2 sub stories after that. This is amazing. All right. So keep these next 3 big stories in your mind because I'm going to reference all of them at the end. Katie Britt, giving off America's insane stepmom energy. Also, if you are a fan of memes, this picture is really making me remember the clingy ex-girlfriend or clingy girlfriend meme. She looks fucking nuts. So Katie Britt is back with a legislation that she formulated called the More Opportunities for Moms to Succeed, or Moms Act. Pause. If you're going to do this, it's like defining the word with the word. You don't put moms in it. You use mothers. Like, that's the obvious thing to do. Mom, short for mothers. Like, you do more opportunities for mothers to succeed. Like, you're being an idiot. Okay, like, that really pissed me off. I was like, you're just being stupid. So this Moms Act, which garnered co-sponsors, by the way, of Marco Rubio and Kevin Cramer, 2 obvious Republicans. It basically creates a specific carve-out bearing an entity that, quote, performs, induces, refers for, or counsels in favor of abortions. Okay. From receiving funding or placement on the newpregnancy.gov website, including swaths of OBGYN services and sexual health clinics across the country. So a government website that is there to help pregnant women, if that organization performs, induces, refers for, or counsels in favor of abortions, cannot be on this site. Only
the places that want you to stay pregnant.
Yes.
Can be listed.
But by the way, you could refer a woman for an abortion that's like a D&C, right? Like, that is because they have a medical issue. I don't think it's crazy for women who are pregnant to be able to get information about that in case they want to have an abortion. And by the way, for any reason, but especially for medical reasons, like the child is not viable.
That is because you are not a Republican. Like, there are legitimately Republicans out there. I'm being serious when I say this, by the way. There are legitimately Republicans out there who believe that even miscarriages stillborn pregnancies, all that kind of shit should be carried, quote unquote, to term or until the fetus naturally removes itself from the woman's body, which is crazy and obviously advocated for by people who have either never had a miscarriage or have not had a close family member that has had a miscarriage.
That is correct.
100%.
More on that later. By later, I mean the very next story.
Oh, cool. Because you and I can join into this story together from personal experience. So
absolutely. So the website would create a federal database of, quote, relevant resources for pregnant women, as well as ask users for contact information that the government could use to, quote, conduct outreach via phone or email. All right. So this amounts to a national database of pregnant women that you can harass and harangue and be like, don't fucking get that abortion. Don't do it. Click. Who is this, right? Jesus. And they hang up. I find this to be, one, gross. I don't want the government, I think the government providing resources for pregnant women, like, hey, here's a list of fucking places to go and stuff like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And by the way, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, whether you're a Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative, whatever. I think that's perfectly fine. What I do have a problem with is the hypocrisy of you building this database of pregnant women. And the reason I would call it a hypocrisy is because, and this is a national database. The reason I have a major problem with that, one, I don't trust Republicans on this at all, and neither should you. But they don't want a national database for gun owners. Did you know that? People aware of that?
Oh, 100%.
I know you know that.
That's always one of their scare tactics that they try to liberals want you to be, register your guns. And that way they know who you are and they know how many guns you have. And they know where you live. And that's an invasion of your privacy. It's an invasion of your freedom.
Yeah. But by the way, register here so we can find out when your fucking menstrual cycle is happening.
Yeah.
So there is no national gun registry. In a lot of states, if I'm not misremembering, in a lot of states, it has to be on paper. They're not even allowed to make it digital at all.
That is correct. Yes.
Right, because they don't want any situation where it can all be synced up to a national database. You got to write that shit down on like a fucking cocktail napkin, like Joe 6 AR-15s, and like, who's Joe? Don't worry about who the fuck Joe is. What's his address? Fucking Gun Road. Fuck off, right? And he's got to write it on the cocktail napkin and deliver it to you, right? Like, you can't write it down. So they don't want that. But it is deeply necessary for them to have a national registration on women being pregnant.
Well, yeah, they got to know if you're getting an abortion, Jay. If all of a sudden you say, oh, I haven't had my period in 3 months, and all of a sudden a month later you start getting your period again, what happened? You better tell us.
Think about it.
That's right.
According to the National Registry, it was supposed to be right about now. You're supposed to have that kid. Like, what the fuck? What the fuck, Katie? When we prioritize making sure that we can hold on to information about when or where pregnant women exist in the United States, but we can't do that for guns that are used to kill people, you got to see the irony and the weirdness in that. As a Republican, you got to be able to see the fucking weirdness in that. I'm sure they don't, but I certainly do, and I think liberal-minded people certainly do.
I got to tell you, the more and more they keep talking and proposing new legislation and policies and stuff like that, Jay, the more I think it's less about making sure that babies don't get aborted and more about controlling women. It's weird that I think that, but it just seems like more and more that's where we're headed.
I'm surprised they didn't just call this shit the Gilead Act. Like, to be honest, like why not? Like, you're so close. We need a registration for women's pregnancies. Why? Oh, we got to keep track of it. Again, why? You know what you have track of? Births. Like, you do. You have track of births. Like, you can look up where everybody, when people are born. That should be your only fucking priority. Why do you need to know when a woman's pregnant? Why is that any of your business? Why does the government need to know how many babies you have? That's your invasion of privacy. I would make this same fucking argument that they make. Except, obviously, my argument is you don't actually need to know, like, about a woman being pregnant. You should probably know when people have weapons of war. Just saying. Like, it's just weird to me. Like, it's weird to me that in the same breath, I'm sure Katie Britt and Marco Rubio and Kevin Kramer would say, no, the government shouldn't know how many guns you have. And by the way,
I actually
go ahead.
I was going to say, I actually know the argument they give you. One of those things is protected in the Constitution, allegedly. The other one is not.
What about right to privacy?
Oh, that went away. You didn't hear? They overturned Roe versus Wade.
Fine. Yeah. But again, when reporters talk to these dick bags, they're not mean enough. Because I'd be like, that would be the argument I'd make. So you believe this? Oh, should there be a registry of that? Oh yeah, no, I think it'd be really helpful. Okay, cool. Let me ask you a question. Why do you have a different view of that than you do of having guns? Oh, well, I think they're wildly different. Not according to you, they're not. Right? Like, they shouldn't be, because what is more private than a potential child inside someone's body, but somehow an AR-15 that you bought at fucking Walmart is more of a private issue.
Well, also the way that they are, the bizarre way that they are approaching this in their minds is that every pregnancy, Jay, is a future potential homicide in their dumb heads.
Yeah.
So which ties the gun analogy even more together. Because, how many, what's the percentage of guns that are used in violent crimes? Probably incredibly low. But you don't know. You don't know. Could be this one. You never know. Abortion isn't murder, by the way, just for those that, I'm thinking I'm advocating for that stance. I am absolutely not.
No.
So
he's being, I think the word is facetious.
Yes.
Next up, all right, let's get the old blood boiling, because that's what this story made me do. Tennessee woman denied abortion after fetus brain not attached. Slam state ban. It's a bad headline, by the way. So this woman, Brianna Cecil, she's 34 years old. She's a mother of one, but she got pregnant. Right, and she's 12 weeks along when she went to get her first ultrasound. Right, so she's at the end of the first trimester. She attended the appointment alone. So when the doctor told her that her fetus was not viable outside of the womb, she was left with only asking the doctor what she should do. Now, the baby was born with something called crania, I believe, which means that the baby was not born with like skull bones, right? So the baby is only viable inside her body, but the second coming out into the world, the baby would die, right? Or the potential for this child is what I should say, right? I'm using baby as shorthand. Relax, pro-lifers. Like, I'm just using a shorthand. Or excuse me. The fetus had acrania. That's what it does. A fatal condition where the fetus has no skull bones. Okay. But in Tennessee, she is forced to hold on to not having an abortion because the fetus still had a heartbeat. So that's the rule. If the fetus has a heartbeat, you can't have an abortion. But again, the potential child is not viable outside of the womb. So what happened is she ended up holding on to having to hold on to this for so long that she ended up losing an ovary, a fallopian tube, and her hopes of having a large family, because now I don't believe she can have kids, right? Or any more kids. Because of this bullshit law that some arbitrary fucking politician, not a doctor, not a person who knows what the fuck they're talking about, said, "That's got a heartbeat, bro. Gotta keep it." Cool. So the only advice a doctor could give her was that most likely the potential child would die before 20 weeks, and then she'd be forced to deliver a stillborn. I'm not sure how you hear this story as a human being and think that this is okay. I don't. I don't know how Republicans live with themselves for passing shit like this and hearing stories like this and just going, it's fine. It's fine.
There is a
shit makes me really fucking mad. Really, really fucking mad.
I'll piss you off more because you said I don't know how they think about this. There's a term that everybody knows that's typically used in war called collateral damage, where it's unintended casualties that happen as a result of a military operation. And in every military operation, they assess how much collateral damage they will be and kind of come up with a acceptable number, acceptable percentage or something like that. You know what I mean? Like what's the acceptable rate in order for us to achieve our goal? So people like this woman, for Republicans, are collateral damage. This is an acceptable situation to have a woman who could have gotten an abortion for a non-viable fetus and could have continued to have kids, no problem, but because she couldn't get an abortion for a fetus that would not have been viable anyway, it ended up causing her long-term, both physical, because she can't have kids probably anymore, and psychological harm. Mm-hmm. But it's worth it for her to endure that to save all of these other perfectly viable fetuses that are aborted voluntarily in their minds. That's how they think about this. I guarantee you that's how they think about it.
I don't agree. I actually don't agree. I don't think they think about it at all. I don't think they think about it at all. I don't think they give a fuck. I don't think it is a calculus at all. I think that they believe that part of their constituency wants this, and I think they sign that fucking bill and they never think about it at all. And I'm going to read a part of this, and I hope that it like feels to you listeners as horrible as it feels to me reading it, and I mean that. After sobbing to receptionists at roughly 20 clinics and hospitals in desperate attempt to get an appointment, she finally had success. A hospital in Chicago had an opening. On February 3rd, doctors performed a dilation in Coleridge procedure. That's a D&C, by the way. Just 6 days after returning to Tennessee, thinking the worst was behind her, Miss Cecil started experiencing a fever and back pain. Her doctor gave her antibiotics, but something still wasn't right. She went to another ultrasound to get another ultrasound, and the physician found retained tissue left over from the fetus, which can have serious consequences. Doctors performed another procedure on Miss Cecil, hoping it would be the end. Her fever persisted for 2 days later. She returned to the hospital, where doctors discovered that she had a 9-centimeter size abscess in her abdomen that encompassed some of her reproductive organs. Doctors had to perform emergency surgery on her and removed her right ovary and fallopian tube. After returning home, after 10 grueling days in the hospital, Miss Cecil and her husband have spent nearly a year trying to conceive that pregnancy. Fertility and infertility is really hard to go through in and of itself, she said. Nothing that the couple thought they'd finally gotten through the final stages. Look, I cannot fucking tell you how angry that makes me, because my wife and I went through this. Now, luckily, my wife did not have like all of this like post situation that she had, right? But we lost a pregnancy at exactly 12 weeks. It a very similar thing, right? Where there was no heartbeat anymore. We had told our friends that we were, pregnant and all this other shit. And it was the happiest moment in my life. And then 12 weeks later was the worst moment of my life. And my wife had to get that same procedure, the DNC. So to me, I do not have any level of sympathy for Republicans or conservatives who push this horse shit about, oh, women, you'll be fine. Nothing will happen. You'll be able to get these procedures. They had to cut organs out of this woman because of your bullshit law. That she should have been able to get that assessment and say, hey, this is not a viable fetus. We got to get this thing out of you because it'll do damage to you. Let's do it today. Let's get fucking done. Right? This sucks, but let's schedule this a fucking appointment a couple days later or whatever. Get it done. Get this out of you. You can move on with your life and potentially have other kids down the road.
Well, and that's the thing is that the first time my wife and I conceived, same very really similar circumstance to you and your wife as well, where again about 8 weeks in, we went for the first ultrasound. They couldn't really find a heartbeat, but this happens sometimes. But so, yeah. We'll come back in a couple weeks. We'll do it again. 10 weeks, same thing. I think I knew it. I think I remember sitting in the ultrasound room, knowing what the deal was. Yep. My wife not knowing, the realization I don't think it hit her. I knew right away. And I was just kind of waiting, with dread, to hear
her figure it out.
The news. And I can't imagine how difficult it would have been for her to not be able to get that procedure.
Right.
And again, this was a normal, just fetus wasn't viable, never had a chance. Let's move on, that sort of thing. And run of the mill. Happens in what, 25% of pregnancies?
Dude, it's
or something
so
like that?
common. And this is what drives me crazy is I read from fucking dudes who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, who've never been in this situation, don't have, you've never experienced what it's like to lose this, this kind of loss in that situation, right? It is physical. It is emotional. You're watching your wife go through that shit, right? And it's deeply physical for her, right? And to this article's credit in The Independent, it mentions something that I don't think people really realize. It says that she goes to that appointment at 12 weeks and finds us out she's alone. I was there when my wife found out, right? I went to every fucking appointment. You were there with your wife when she found out. Now you saw what it was like on your wife's face when she found out. I was there when my wife found out. Imagine doing this alone. Her husband and I'm not saying her husband's like a bad guy. He just wasn't there that time, right? I gotta go to work. I'm out of town or whatever. Shit happens. I'm not saying that. But then she has to hear that news alone. That's fucking heartbreaking, dude. And then to be told you've got to wait a number of weeks because you live in this backwater fucking state that won't allow you to get this done. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I feel so fucking sorry for these people that now they can't conceive because of a governmental issue. Right? Because Republicans love to act like the government is only the federal government, not these fucking psychopaths that run the fucking state government where these people live. Who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. God, it fucking makes me so mad. But I'm not even at the end of this. I'm not even at the beginning of this rant that I have. Next story. Trump vows to reverse transgender student protections, that's Title IX protections, on day one, right? After he finishes sucking the dick of oil companies on day one, I guess he'll make time to screw over transgender folks too. Former President Trump said Friday on some fucking idiot radio show with a bunch of douchebags, I assume, they're conservative. He said that don't don't worry about it. I'm going to get rid of these sweeping changes to Title IX that were basically the education department came out in April and said, yeah, man, so transgender kids have the right to equal and fair education. We're just adding that in. You can't discriminate against them in an educational standpoint, right? Right? They use Title IX to apply to schools. That was it. It didn't say that transgender kids are better than non-trans kids. It didn't say that trans kids get to stand in the front of the cafeteria line or they get the extra piece of brownie where the other kids don't get it. It is none of that. They just get equal protection under the law. That's it. Didn't say the teachers have to you have to give them their injections of their hormones. Like, it doesn't say any of that. It just says that they get equal protection under the law. That's it. But of course, that pisses conservatives off. Equality pisses them off, right? So Trump comes out and says, he goes on this fucking dingleberry fucking show, and he's like, hey, don't worry about it. I'm getting rid of that shit on day one. So I thought to myself, well, I saw that Greg Abbott, who's the governor of Texas, and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who's the governor of Arkansas, they came out immediately and said for schools to defy Title IX. Defy it. Now, keep in mind, if you defy Title IX laws, you lose federal funding or you get a reduction in your federal funding. But they told their schools, don't worry about it. Defy it. Now, that I don't agree with. Like, you can disagree with the new Title IX rules and do what other Republican states did. 5 Republican-led states sue over Biden's new Title IX transgender protections, right? That's a perfectly fine thing to do. Again, I don't agree with it, but that's fine. Just defying it is a different conversation altogether.
Well, I mean, that's not to slow your rant train, but that's kind of the new Republican thing, right? Oh, you have to use this map that's not racially gerrymandered. Defy it. Fuck you, Supreme Court. We don't want to fucking use the map.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Make me. Yeah. So they've decided. Yeah, they're gonna sue, right? And then I thought, okay, let me be fair. What did Democrats have an issue with Trump's Title IX regulations? Right? They did. And you know what they did? They also sued. Right? So the Republicans are not out of line there, right? So being fair. Now, context matters. It always matters, right?
I didn't even open the story, and I knew
you knew which one it was, right? Exactly. Context matters. So Republicans have an issue with Biden's Title IX change, which is making sure that trans kids are treated equally under the law, that they're not discriminated against. Okay. Again, don't agree with it, just laying the facts out. Now, what were the Democrats mad about in Trump's administration, his changes to Title IX? Because they also sued. Well, the rule that the Trump administration put into place, the rule will reverse decades of effort to end the corrosive effects of sexual harassment on equal access to education, a commitment that, until now, has been shared by Congress and the executive branch across multiple elections and administrations, as well as by states and local officials and school administrations, right? So what they basically argued was that they basically narrowed what sexual assault was on college campuses. Mm-hmm. So, don't worry. If it was unwanted touching, that doesn't really count. You can touch a little bit. You can do whatever you want. And of course, the colleges were like, dude, have you been to college? Like, are you fucking insane? You have to have strict rules about this shit. So again, I just want to reiterate. Republicans are mad that transgender kids are allowed to be treated like other students, like human beings. Mm-hmm. And they're suing over that. Democrats sued because, hey, man, we're trying to stop kids from getting raped on campus. What the fuck? 2 different ideologies are we talking about here? Maybe we shouldn't allow kids to be sexually assaulted and make sure that those kids who do it are prosecuted and kicked out of fucking school. Trump administration is like, absolutely not. We're totally for that. Meanwhile, equality for transgender kids, like other kids, get the fuck out of here. That's insane. We must sue over that. Again, I don't get it. So here comes my rant. And it's going to go in a direction that you probably were not thinking, Brett. Title IX, right? So getting rid of, basically trying to screw over trans kids' rights, right? By the way, in that same article, it talks about how Trump is pushing for a national ban on transgender folks participating in sports that are, the opposite of their born gender, right? And prosecuting medical folks who administer hormones for trans kids, right? So if you as a parent and your kid's doctor and your kid agree to something, the government can come in and prosecute your doctor for doing that thing. Mm-hmm. Small government, okay? So getting rid of, getting in the way of parents and their kids when it comes to transgender issues. Allowing for situations like women losing their fucking organs when it comes to abortions. And a national registration when it comes to pregnancies so they can track that shit but never track guns. Okay? Amongst a myriad of other things. So here's the rant. If you still think that not voting...
Now here we go. here it comes.
Yeah. If you think that not voting or voting third party or sitting on your hands just because you don't like what's happening in Gaza, and you have every right to not like what's happening in Gaza, we don't like what's happening in Gaza either. But if you think that stance makes you somehow pure and somehow the intelligent position, and I know what people are going to say, you're not supposed to beat up on people. That's not the way you change their minds. I'm not in the business of changing your mind. I'm in the business of giving truth. You're a fucking asshole. You're a fucking asshole. You're willing to let trans kids be destroyed, right? You're allowing their lives to be destroyed. You're allowing the lives of, by the way, do you think that the Title IX shit that he took away, that Biden reversed on, sexual assault on college campuses, would you think they're going to forget about it? They're going to bring it back. So you're cool with bringing it back too, right? Let alone more shit. You're cool with women having their body parts cut out of them because these fucking yahoos in Tennessee and every other fucking state, every other red state, thinks that women's lives are not important. You're willing to sacrifice that for this thing that is happening in a foreign country that you can do nothing about. That if you let this asshole in, will make it worse. You're willing to have a national registration like they're mutants on fucking X-Men for women who are pregnant to track them. What's next? Collars? Right? Maybe a number. Maybe we could scroll a number on their fucking arm too. Is that enough of a fucking analogy for you? Don't tell me you give a fuck about other people. Voting is about looking at the dynamics of the fucking situation that you are in and not voting based on some pie in the sky bullshit. Reality is right here. These last three stories are reality. They're reality. Not what you feel like, oh, I feel this way. Reality on the ground. Letting Trump get back into office will do nothing for the people of Gaza. It will make it worse for them. Grow the fuck up. That is my rant. Grow the fuck up. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Oh, but do you even care about the people in Gaza? Do you? Because what you're doing will make it worse for them. You're not coming in as some sort of better rant or some sort of better perspective. You're not. Throwing your hands up makes you fucking lazy and weak. Nothing in the United States has ever happened positively by giving up. It's never worked. Oh, the civil rights movement. Well, maybe if we just sit back on our fucking hands, maybe white people will just figure it out. No. They never will. You have to fight. And fighting is hard. It's exhausting. Put your big boy pants on. Put your big girl pants on. Put your big non-binary pants on and get into the fight. And vote. I'm sorry. Like, I'm done. I know it's mean, but 2016 we voted. Yeah, some of you voted, and you bitched and complained the entire time to make sure that other people sat on their asses. So fuck you. That's my attitude. Fuck you. If it makes you feel upset, be upset. Be upset. Put on a cape and get super mad. I don't give a fuck. These people are literally going to be destroyed. Women are literally going to die. All so that you can feel pure about it. Oh, what are you going to vote third party? Cool. That guy's got fucking brain worms, man. We'll get there in a minute. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You going to sit home? You sit home and then watch the world burn. Watch the environment burn, right? Does the earth being on fire, does that help Gaza? No. This motherfucker's like, hey, just give me $1 billion and I'll just let the fucking world catch on fire. Who gives a shit? You have one opportunity to try, and you're too fucking lazy and fake pure about it. And then look, there's a guy, I'm not going to say his name. There's a guy that I know that always votes third party. Super intelligent guy. Always votes third party because he wants to be, I can't vote for either one of these parties. I live in a state, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it doesn't matter. It should matter to you. In your heart of hearts, it should matter to you. That you tried to fight against fucking fascism. That's where it matters. Yeah, it matters. Of course it matters at the ballot box, but it should matter to you. Ultimately, it should. You sitting on your ass go, well, I didn't vote for this. Cool, man. Great. How do you feel? Because you same assholes will bitch and complain for 4 years as the country is burning about it. But you won't pick up a fucking finger to stop it. Biden's old. No shit, they're both old. We don't have any other choices. It's a binary choice. I wish I could vote for a fucking AOC. I wish I could, but I can't. You know who she's supporting? I saw her walking with old ass Bernie Sanders and old ass Joe Biden. That's who she's supporting. No. And I fucking told you, the second she got in office and she got to see what shit was really like, she would change from being so ideologically hard to the left to going, you got to move slightly so we can get some shit done. And that's exactly what she's done. She hasn't sold out. She's being fucking intelligent. Because you can't fight against, you can't save the planet. You can't fight against shit when you're locked in a fucking gulag, you idiots. You can't save the world if Ukraine is being destroyed as they roll fucking tanks in the fucking place. You can't do any of that shit. You can't do anything if the U.S. is pulled out of NATO. You can't do shit. What are you gonna do with Gaza when Trump wins? What are you gonna do? Protest? Congratulations. I'm sure that'll help the person who gets their kid gets shot in the fucking head. I'm tired of being fucking nice about it. Grow the fuck up. Grow up. Just grow up. It's annoying as fuck to me. I'm so tired of it. But Hillary didn't run a good campaign, she lost because you didn't fight. That's why. Oh, she didn't run a great campaign. You think everybody who's won a fucking presidential race runs an amazing campaign? Do you think Donald Trump ran an amazing campaign? That's what you think? This guy is on trial because he can't stop fucking porn stars and hiding it in his taxes. He ran a great campaign? No, she lost because people stayed the fuck home. That is a fact. Because of all the people who could have fought against it, actually came out and fought against it, we wouldn't be here. And we're here because of you and people like you. So fuck you. That's my attitude.
So before we go to break, I have a feeling that Jay probably frightened some of our more timid listeners. So I will balance his rant real quick. It's gonna be a real treat for video listeners. Hang on, we got to get the right vibe going here. Turn the chair around and get down in here. Sorry, backwards hat.
Lord,
hey, champ.
Hey, champ.
The primaries are there, and if you want to make a protest vote during the primary, like that's fine. Like vote however you want to in the primary, but just make sure that when we get to November, that you're coming out for Joe Biden. That's all we're trying to say here and look forward. Just make sure that vote with your heart in the primary, but just use that noggin when we get to November. That's all we're saying. All right, thanks, Jim.
All right, we'll be back. No, man, I fucking hate it. Like, I really do. I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired. I'm super tired of it. I'm tired of it. And it's just, it really bothers me. It really does. Oh, that's not how you're going to win them back. I don't care about winning people back. I care about speaking truth to power. And you guys are fucking shit up when you do this. We're literally at the cusp of letting the democracy die. And these people are like, I don't know, man. They both seem the same to me. When people say they both seem the same to me, that tells me you don't read. You don't read. You couldn't possibly be caught up on any of this shit. Yeah, but what about Joe Biden's, he signed the crime bill back in 1994. You do know it's 2024 now, right? I'm not saying it was good. I'm just saying holding to something in 1994, and this is still a thing you're ranting about when there's literally democracy is on the fucking ballot, seems a little odd to me. Seems like maybe you're not exactly caught up on current events.
Well, Jay, I have good news. I don't know how bold this red line is, but Joe Biden's been saying for a while that his red line is an attack on Rafah. Okay.
Yep.
And he has decided last week the U.S. paused shipments of thousands of 2,000-pound bombs to Israel as they broach attacking Rafah, which I believe has started in some small scale.
Yes.
And Biden has said if Israel continues to push on this line, that they will stop arming Israel with offensive weaponry, that they will only provide defensive weaponry to the Israelis. Benjamin Netanyahu, because he's a bitch, said, we don't need your weapons, so withhold them if you want. I get the feeling that his tune might change if that actually comes to pass. But we seem to be inching ever closer to Biden throwing his hands up and kind of saying, "That's enough for me. I'm out." And I cannot understate how badly, if you're Benjamin Netanyahu, you have fucked up if you have pushed Joe Biden to the brink.
Yeah. Because
Joe Biden fucking rides or dies for Israel by his own admission.
Mm-hmm.
And you just not be able to fucking keep it in your pants, metaphorically speaking, you're gonna fuck yourself, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Look, that's fine. It's fine. I don't want that guy anywhere. I don't want Biden anywhere near this shit. You shouldn't be. Like,
yeah,
this is helping no one. So I'm super happy that he's like, look, you know what? Fuck it. Like, I'm not involved. I don't want to be.
We are up to 34,000 reported dead Palestinians. And as we talked about a couple months ago, probably at least 2/3 of which, if not more, are women and children.
It's gross.
So, yeah, anytime the Biden administration would like to fucking back away as fast as possible from this conflict, would probably be like the best day to do it would have been yesterday.
Yep.
and the best day to do it is today, and the next best day to do it is tomorrow.
Yeah, just get the fuck out of there. Like, there's no reason to keep yourself tied to this asshole. So I'm glad.
And again, Netanyahu will talk a big game, but if the administration legitimately starts pulling necessary shipments and stuff like that to them, watch how quickly that turnaround happens.
Yeah,
Benjamin Netanyahu cannot carry on this war by himself without the U.S. fully supporting him.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, look, I think it's a good thing. I made the point last week. the war in Gaza is not
I'm
going
sorry,
to.
I just read the headline in the Lindsey Graham story, but continue your point. I just did a double take.
Fucking bro,
Cool.
like bro, do you know we can see you? Like we can hear you. Like that's insane. It's an insane thing to say out loud. But like I said, the war in Rafah, or excuse me, the war in Gaza is not going to be the thing that determines this election. Like for the average person, it's just simply not going to be. But the sooner we can get away from this and have a hard stance against Israel's sort of disgusting behavior in this war, the better we'll do. So look, I think it's the right move, quite literally, and I think it's the right move politically. Get away from this, like. And look, part of me, and I don't want to be too conspiratorial here, but part of me thinks that he is Netanyahu, that is doing this because he knows that it hurts Biden, and so he's dragging him into this. And good on Biden for being able to say, like, you know what? Nah, I don't think so. Nice try. Fuck that. I don't want anything to do with this. But that's just my like weirdo speculation on it. I absolutely think they're more than fine to drag the United States into this and help Trump get reelected. So, because it only helps Netanyahu, because Trump will just say take the gloves off. I mean, he's quite literally said that. Yeah. Meanwhile, Lindsey Graham has some thoughts on what's going on in Gaza.
That's an understatement.
Lindsey Graham, Israel should do whatever they want to the Palestinians, like when the U.S. nuked Japan. I'm sorry, what? Again, we can see you, right? Yeah, that's insane. He's just like, look, it's fine. Senator Lindsey Graham doesn't want Israel to hold back on its assault in Gaza, comparing the Israelis' military efforts against Hamas to when the U.S. dropped nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II, killing more than 100,000 civilians. One, we were engaged in a direct war. Okay, that's one thing. Two, I think largely people look back on the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki as like not our finest hour. Like, I think people felt it was necessary to do something, but to drop two nuclear weapons on civilians, I don't think people are okay with that. I think the large part of people are not okay with that.
For those that may not be aware, there is certainly a historical debate on whether or not that was the appropriate action to take in the United States. The reason that the U.S. dropped those nuclear weapons onto those two Japanese cities is because the war at that point was all but won. Of course, that by that point, the theater in Europe had already been resolved, but Japan was still fighting, and the U.S. had two choices. You could either do what they did, which is drop two nuclear weapons to show the power and the might that the country had, and cause massive destruction, or you could do a ground invasion on Japan, which would cost many. Yeah, and would have, like, there is an argument to be made, and I'm not saying that I agree with this argument or that it's correct, but there is an argument to be made that there would have been more loss of life for the Japanese and for Americans if a ground invasion had happened, because Japan had made it clear they were going to defend their homeland until their dying breath in that war, and that spirit and that culture was ingrained in them from their soldiers down to their people. Like it was quite a thing. So the argument can be made that that dropping those bombs actually saved lives. Again, I'm not saying that that's correct or that I agree with it. I'm just saying that's the calculus that people have argued.
Sure.
And there's an argument to be made.
There's an argument to be made. I mean, it's a brutal argument, but there is
right.
An argument to be made. Sure.
But again, as history is borne out, perhaps dropping nuclear bombs and killing hundreds of thousands of people and irradiating areas of the Japanese continent for many, many years Not so great. In fact, President Barack Obama apologized formally to Japan for that act while he was president in office. So cavalierly throwing around is an insane thing to say. And again, we somewhat cavalierly talk about the use of nuclear weapons especially when we talk about like Russian shit like that on the show. But we do that because we kind of know that it would take an extreme act of desperation on a nation's behalf to actually use nuclear weapons. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that because there is a policy of mutually assured destruction with nuclear armaments in the world. That's why you don't see them get used. It's why you have not seen a nuclear attack since the U.S. dropped 2 bombs on Japan. So, and it's one thing for Jay and I to talk about it cavalierly. It's another thing for a sitting United States senator to talk about it cavalierly.
It's just an unbelievable statement. Just
it is an unbelievable statement.
Just do whatever, bro. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm sorry, what? Like, by the way, I have voting power. Please stop.
The best part is, and I continue to really like Kirsten Walker, is that he got he basically stumbled into that answer because he was on Meet the Press criticizing Biden's decision to possibly withhold weapons. And then she's like, well, was it okay when Ronald Reagan did the same thing in the 1980s and basically ended one of these conflicts by telling Israel to knock it the fuck off or he was going to withhold weaponry? And he basically like got stammered into saying that ridiculous statement where he's like, do whatever you got to do, Israel. Do whatever you got to do.
Do whatever you got to do. Cool, bro. Cool story. They're so fucking silly. All right. Yeah, Lindsey Graham, please stop talking publicly. It's just not good.
It's almost like Lindsey Graham's got brain worms.
Perfect transition. He doesn't, but you know who does? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Said that he had a parasitic brain worm and other undisclosed memory loss. Cool. Perfect for a president. It's really good.
I cannot believe that they volunteered this story.
There's no way. Look. The Russian mob could not beat this story out of me if I was running for president. Do you have brain worms? I do not recall. Like, dude. He said, by the way, the brain ate the worm ate parts of his brain.
Yeah, that's what he said, and then died in his head.
I did appreciate one tweet that said it probably died of starvation. I mean, look, look, there's a way to approach this story, and there is a way to not approach this story, right? There's obviously the very immature way of approaching the story, and then there's the appropriate way, which is like this guy went through some stuff. I would just like to say we will be approaching the story in the way that is very immature. So please.
So apparently they found out about this in divorce proceedings from his former wife.
Oh damn!
And he said in this,
that's awesome. That's fucking awesome.
In these proceedings that he had, and again, this is a guy that's running for president. Short and long-term memory loss, and described himself as, quote, having cognitive problems clearly. And also,
come on, dude.
Around the same time that he found out that he had the brain worm, he was diagnosed with mercury poisoning, also a condition that can lead to memory loss,
amongst many others.
But he says he's all better now, Jay.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. That's good. Let me ask you a question, Brad. Do you still think that he should be on the stage with Donald Trump and Joe Biden in a debate?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, Jay, because in one of the all-time examples of steering into the skid that I think I've ever seen in my entire life, Robert F. Kennedy said that he would allow 5 more brainworms into his head and then do a debate with Joe Biden and Donald Trump and run circles around them. He said he would go in with a 6-worm handicap and still run circles around them.
Look,
It's just something that I don't know if you want to actually admit and say out loud.
Look, not a great thing to say out loud. That being said, 6-worm handicap is a really fucking hilarious turn of phrase, and I give him credit for that. Like, that's actually quite funny. Again, what are we doing? There are people who think, yeah, he's a viable alternative. What are you doing? Just what are you doing?
I mean, again, like I just want to point out that when we are making fun of somebody for being a brain-addled moron, the term brainworms is a term that we throw out figuratively to make fun of that person. And here's a guy that's running for president that has admitted that he had a literal brainworm eat part of his brain. But he's all better now. Don't worry about
it. Like, I'm sorry, this story writes itself. Like, who expected this? Who expected this? Like, oh no, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to admit to having brainworms later in this campaign. Oh, that's cool. All right, that seems normal.
It is literally going to be the first time in human history that you'll run into a dude who's planning on voting for RFK, and you can respond factually accurately with the phrase "Your dude has brainworms," and you won't be wrong about it. Now, here's the question that needs to be asked. So all these people that are like giddy up for RFK, like your Aaron Rodgerses and your Aaron's Rodgers is probably the correct way to say it, and people of that sort. They have that brainworms too, right? Like that's and how ironic. And how ironic, by the way, I can't get up the story. How ironic that the dude telling you don't take vaccines,
right?
Because you don't know how they're going to harm your body, is the dude rocking around with a literal brainworm who ate part of his brain
and
mercury poisoning. And mercury poisoning.
I don't know. Maybe it's all of the like. It's probably raw milk you're drinking or whatever other fucking hippie bullshit you're doing that doesn't like, oh, I don't need regulations, man. Maybe it's all of those things that's causing these issues. Because last time I checked, the president of the United States doesn't actually have brainworms, as far as we know.
By the way, again, for everyone that's just like, oh, these two old guys, they're so old. But man, they're so fucking old. I can't believe how old they are. RFK's 70? Like it's not like you're voting for like a spring chicken in RFK Jr. either. Or Jill Stein. Or Cornel West. It's almost like every single person running for president right now is over the age of 70. How about we stop making age part of the fucking
debate?
Like part of the debate. Yes. Because if you're willing to vote for somebody who's 70 or 73 or 78, voting for someone who's 82 is really not that far of a stretch. I gotta tell you.
I mean, Bernie Sanders is running for re-election, and he literally is 82.
Yeah.
And people are like, hell yeah, Bernie, 4 more or 6 more years. I'm like, is he going to make it 6 more years? Like, again,
I don't know. He doesn't have brainworms like RFK Jr., so.
Well, he's been vaccinated, and he like doesn't drink river water or whatever the fuck. What the fuck is he doing? How did he get him? That's a better question. How did he get him?
So he says that he got brainworms while traveling in Africa, South America, and Asia during his work as an environmental advocate.
Yeah. Drinking river water, 100%. Nah, you don't just get brain. Nah, you weren't at the hotel, dude. Nah. This guy's drinking river water because he's not fucking smart enough. He's like, ain't no government here to tell me what to do. I'll drink it. And they're like, well, I wouldn't do that. He's like, shut up, lib. Yeah. All right, cool, man. Best of luck with that. Best of luck.
So when you have a brainworm, it can cause neurological symptoms including headaches, convulsions, epileptic seizures, and even death when the worm larvae get into the brain. And of course, mercury poisoning can cause speech and hearing impairment, muscle weakness, lack of coordination, and other symptoms. Just eat less fish, man. It's not that fucking hard.
Oh, if you're having sushi every day, right? You can get mercury poisoning.
Yeah.
Remember that happened to Jeremy Piven, the actor. He was like having sushi every day. He was like, I love sushi. And then his doctor's like, yo, you have mercury poisoning. Relax. He was like, all right, I think I need to relax on it. Yeah, you probably should. Yeah, your guy literally has brainworms. Okay. Like, I see people like, yeah, I think that guy is a genius. I'm like, I think maybe you have brainworms.
Brainworms.
I think you need to go to the doctors as well.
I'm sorry, but like if I was a fan of RFK Jr. and like I followed him and like he's got great ideas and like this guy knows what's up, like he's thinking on levels that guys aren't thinking on, and then I saw this story, I would literally question everything that I had formerly known about him. It would literally halt me in my tracks and be like, wait a second. I think I need to interrogate my priors before we move forward with the decision to vote for this guy.
Yeah, like this feels like I might be making a mistake. And guess what?
And again, we're not saying that RFK Jr. has brainworms. RFK Jr. is saying that he has brainworms. Yeah. And will gladly take on more.
Yeah. That's how arrogant he is in the possible debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Cool. Look, there's nobody happier about this story than Donald Trump. He's like, yes. Yes. Hell yeah, man. He's like, I'm an idiot, but I don't have brainworms. I don't think. Maybe.
Now I kind of want him to get like one debate with them just so that Donald Trump can ask him about the brainworms.
Dude, you know he will. You know he will. He's got it like, see, that's where Trump's power is. Everybody would want him to be like, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. would be like, he'd insult Trump or something or insult his policy, and he'd be like, this guy has brainworms. He's got worms living literally in his brain. It ate part of his brain. You said it in that interview. Like, he would just shit on him. And then Trump would win that debate, even for no other reason as that is just a really hilarious moment. So part of me kind of does want that to happen a little bit. A little bit. All right, next up.
Before we get there, I just moved that every state that RFK is on the ballot in, which is not many so far, but every state that he's on the ballot in, I need him to be listed on the ballot as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. parentheses brainworms. just to make sure that people know.
Worms 2024 is what I've long advocated for.
That's right.
Barron Trump won't serve as RNC delegate due to prior commitments. Like,
I'm sure prior commitments are what kept him out, and not his mother being like, "Fuck, do you think you're doing, Donald?" to our son.
Yeah. Baby of moose and squirrel, no go to be delegate. Look, I'm glad he's doing this. I'm glad that he's stepping back from this.
Yes, me too.
Like, dude, you're 18. You don't need to get into the fray of this shit. You know his dad pushed him into this. You're going to be a delegate. You're going to be a delegate. And here's the thing.
If he even consulted him.
Yeah, that's true.
He might have been like, this is happening. And Melania was like, no, it's fucking not. Get the fuck out of my face.
Yeah. Look, he's a kid. I know he's 18 now, whatever. But leave this kid alone. Just leave this kid alone. Like, if he wants to step into politics at some point, to me, as an adult, like 25 and older, then by all means, I would be happy to come on here and rip this guy to fucking shreds of the bullshit that he believes. If he believes in terrible things. But leave this kid alone. Because you never know if this kid ends up being more of a Ron Reagan situation, right? Ron Reagan's son, who's like a hardcore liberal.
There have been pictures to suggest that that's probably not going to be the case.
I know. I saw he's like on some podcast with like all the douchiest of right wingers. I'm like, come on. You were the chosen one, Barron. You were supposed to bring balance, and you didn't. Tiffany is the only one left. Oh wait.
But look, he's also 18 and hasn't been to college yet, so he hasn't had his liberal awakening yet.
I hope he does. Look, he's going to go to college and he's going to be surrounded by a bunch of douchebag conservatives. But hopefully he is able to soak up a little bit of intelligence and then get around like some like hot liberal, girl his age or hot liberal dude. I don't know what Barron's proclivities are, and just be like, "Yeah, you should read this book." And he's like, "Howard Zinn." Like, oh my God, my eyes are opened. And then you see how terrible your father was as president. And then you fight your entire life after he dies in 6 months like pushing back on all of his shitty policies like Ron Reagan did. So you don't know. You just don't know how kids turn out. So just like leave that kid alone. Just leave him alone. You never know. Now, if he becomes like this hardcore douche like his brothers and his sister, oh, I'll be the first one to attack Lurch over there.
Well, that's what I said. In our private chat, like as soon as I saw this, the original story pop up where it's like he'd be delicate. I told you guys, like, oh shit, it's open season on Lurch. Like we're coming to fucking get him.
We're coming for you, young man. Nah, but let him be. Let him be. It's cool. But I'm sure his mom was like, no, he's not getting into this shit.
Oh, 1,000%. Are you kidding me?
And look, that's the right move, by the way. As much as I don't like Melania, that's the right move. Keep your kid out of it. I will give her credit for this. She's done a masterful job at keeping him sheltered out of the public eye as much as possible. Yeah, yes.
Which is good for him. Like that has been helpful for him to have not had to live his adolescent years under public scrutiny and things of that nature. So
yeah. So look, again, he's 18. Like, his decisions are barely his own at that point. They really are.
Yep.
So I'm glad, most likely, like you said, Melania is stepping in and looking out for him. That makes total sense. She can go suck an egg, but I'm glad she did this one thing correct. In fairness. All right, This Week in Stupid. A
trifecta.
Yeah. I threw this one up last minute. Trump insiders say Nikki Haley being considered for VP, but only if she pays his legal fees. That is hilarious. And I think that image is exactly right. Whoa, buddy, I don't fucking think so. Which is definitely a face he has seen from women many times over. Yeah, so she is under active consideration. Trump says she's not, but I don't believe that. But according to Axios, Trump's decision hinges on whether Trump believes Haley, whom he called bird brain throughout their fight to become the GOP presidential nominee, can help him avoid a prison sentence and cover millions of dollars in debt racked up by legal bills if he loses the election. Haley, however, has publicly stated she won't endorse Trump, and her supporters continue to vote for her against him in the primary elections, despite her ending her own campaign back in March. I don't know if we talked about this last week, but in Indiana, she actually won 20% of the vote.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and couple that with Pennsylvania, I believe she won 17% in recent weeks. So I don't know, man. People seem to still be fucking with her as a kind of a fuck you to Donald Trump.
Again, as I have said, like of all the candidates that are on the board, she would be the smartest pick of all of them if he's actually interested in like winning and trying to get back some conservatives. This would be another Mike Pencean type pick for him. Mm-hmm. And she would do it too. Like that's the other thing. It's like for all her having. Oh, I've said this before. 100%. Yes. You kidding me? Come on. You think she has too much pride to turn down an actual VP position being offered to her, even if it's by him? Come on.
I don't think she thinks he can win though. That's the thing.
That's interesting.
I don't think she thinks he can win, and I think that's the only reason she wouldn't do it.
but for her to
be embarrassed and lose,
right? But for her to stick to that, she'd have to hang on to a long-standing belief, which is not something that Republicans generally do. Like they're used to flipping, it's this convenient. So
yeah. Again, back to my hour-long rant on Republicans are wrong about everything.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, I'm gonna need you to pay my bills. No, well then no, you can't be my vice president. By the way, if you see that if you see anybody who ends up being his VP, know that they are on the hook for some of these legal bills.
Oh,
Just,
well, I mean, based on this story, yes, 100%.
yeah. By the way, JD Vance went and visited the courtroom today for Trump, or today or yesterday.
Oh, you know what? That's not on the docket, but we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, go ahead.
But they think Tim Scott's going to come next. Like this is the bid for VP. You got to like go pay fealty to the king.
So some people think he's trying an end around strategy around these gag orders because he had, like, Rick Scott was there last week, and Rick Scott stood outside the courtroom talking about how corrupt the judge was and how corrupt the judge's daughter was and the prosecutor was and his wife and people are like wondering if he's bringing along these like people that don't have gag orders, even though if there was ever some evidence that he was compelling them to speak on his behalf, that would also be a violation of the gag order, because not only can he not say it, he's not allowed to compel other people to say his statements as well. So
that's wild. I mean, it would be a cool move, but if he gets caught, that would be super good.
Yes.
Like, you dumb idiot. I wrote this for you. Go say it, Tim Scott. Like, okay. I, Donald Trump. Oh, man. I screwed up. Yeah, so give me the money. Gimme. All right, next up.
All right, so have you seen this, by the way?
I have seen this.
Okay. That's unfortunate. So Trump was he was doing a speech over the past weekend in New Jersey, right? And this ties into Jay's story later, because apparently it was attended like no speech ever has been in New Jersey before, according to Roger Stone. But we'll get to that in a second. And he was talking about how Venezuela is like the crime's gone down by 75% in Venezuela because all their gang members took their they locked up all their gang members and shipped them right to the United States, and they're all coming here and they're doing all this stuff, which is not true.
No, it's not true.
Yeah, not true. Crime rate is down in Venezuela, but only because no one has any fucking money to steal down there. So
they did do massive lockups of gang members, but they're locked up in Venezuela. They didn't ship them to the
right,
United States.
And the ones that are left are going to surrounding countries and not right, all the way up to fucking United States. But the reason that this is in This Week in Stupid is because he went on a bit of a tangent, and I'm going to quote directly. And again, I'm quoting verbatim. I'm not exaggerating any of this. This is what he said.
Brad, he's making this up.
This is what he said. Silence of the Lamb. Has anyone ever seen Silence of the Lambs? The late, great Hannibal Lecter is a wonderful man. He oftentimes would have a friend for dinner. Remember the last scene? Excuse me, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. As this poor doctor walked by. I'm about to have a friend for dinner. But Hannibal Lecter, congratulations. The late, great Hannibal Lecter. What?
That's the end of the rant.
What?
He's a maniac. He's a fucking maniac. Not Hannibal Lecter, Donald Trump. He's a fucking maniac.
Also Hannibal Lecter, a fictional character. Has Donald Trump ever seen Silence of the Lambs? Is my question.
No.
Does he think that Hannibal Lecter is the protagonist of Silence of the Lambs?
Yes. 1,000%. I think he thinks that he's like, does he think that Hannibal Lecter is like head of the cops? Like he's directing Clarice. He's like, it's like, oh, go here. Because he's a good guy. I don't know, man. He seems like a pretty bad guy.
I mean, for fuck's sake, we literally see Hannibal Lecter like viciously murder 2 security guards in the film. Yes.
Yeah, but it's different. It's different. Hannibal Lecter, ladies and gentlemen, like
the late great Hannibal Lecter. Why is he the late great? Like, when did Hannibal Lecter die? He didn't die in Hannibal.
No, I'm pretty sure he got away.
Yeah,
which was fucked up. Hannibal, not a great movie. Silence of the Lambs, great movie.
Yes.
Hannibal, not a great movie. Yeah, here's my story.
And I saw this beforehand as well.
Speaking of brainworms, Roger Stone. So Roger Stone tweeted out a picture, a very accurate picture of what the crowd size was at the Trump rally in New Jersey, with the caption, "New Jersey is in play for Donald Trump. Could Joe Biden draw a crowd like this?" No, I don't think Joe Biden could draw a crowd like that. Here's the thing. I don't think Donald Trump could draw a crowd like that. because that picture is not of the Jersey Shore, which I don't know if a lot of people know. The Jersey Shore not lined with mountains on the side.
Yeah, I don't know if people. So for those listeners and viewers that have never been to the Atlantic coast, when you look out to the Atlantic Ocean, the only thing you see is ocean.
Yeah.
Like you see the ocean, and then there's the horizon.
That's it.
And that's it.
Not in this part of New Jersey. Not at the Jersey Shore. It's not. This part of New Jersey, you can see mountains all the way out, and then mountains on the side. And it's funny because when you post things like this on Twitter, community notes is a thing, and it fact checks things that you post to make sure that you're not bullshitting people. Well, community notes comes up and it says, this photo is from a Rod Stewart concert almost 30 years ago. On December 31st, 1994, Rod Stewart performed at Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro in front of an estimated 3.5 to 4.2 million people. This is the largest free concert ever, right? It's in the Guinness Book of Records. So, no, this is not New Jersey. No, New Jersey is not in play for Donald Trump at all. And you don't think we would have heard a groundswell of information if 3.5 million people
had descended on New Jersey?
Yeah, what are you talking about? Half of the population of New York City was like, we're going to Jersey. No, dude. Where are all these people parking? Where are they all parking? Like, that is a number one question. Where are they parking? No, this is nonsense. Like, this is utter nonsense. But I saw a bunch of Republicans like, oh, yeah, look at this. Yeah, where are you at, liberals? It's like, you guys will believe literally anything but the truth. Literally anything.
Well, and of course, after Roger Stone was called out for it, he's just like, oh, yeah, obviously I was kidding. Obviously I was kidding. And he tried to like make it a big deal. Like, oh, he did get 10,000 people. 10,000? Bro, it's not even enough to fill up a college football stadium. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like, okay.
Like, and I'm not even talking about like an SEC stadium. I'm talking about like an ACC college football stadium.
tiny one.
That's right.
Let me just say this. This is my response anytime these rallies get brought up. There was one a couple of weeks ago. Someone was like, "You don't see anybody going to Joe Biden rallies," and I simply responded, and it's how you should always respond to these. Rallies don't vote. It's irrelevant. I don't care if he had 3.5 million people there. Are 3.5 million people going to vote? No.
Also, right. Joe Biden doesn't have I need self-adulation political rallies every fucking weekend.
Yeah.
Like, he'll have political rallies as he gets closer to the election to gin up support, but he doesn't have to go like Donald Trump has literally been having rallies every weekend, whether he was running for president or not running for president, because it makes him feel good. There's stories coming out fast and furious from his trial that to keep his attention and to keep him from like nodding off in court when he's bored, because the guy gets bored easily. Obviously, the dude that couldn't sit through a 15-minute intelligence briefing every morning without pictures. How's he going to sit through 8 hours of court every day, 4 days a week?
Right.
His one of his attorneys, of course, it's the female attorney, literally has a wireless printer that she brings with her to court, so that when he is feeling bored and losing interest, she can go online and print up like a positive news story and print it out on paper and hand it to him, and he's keeping his attention by reading positive press about himself. Dude, that's this is the level of intellect, ego, narcissism that we're dealing with, that wants to be the president. I literally can't afford to pay attention unless people are saying nice things about me, where I get to be the center of attention and say whatever I want, and people will cheer for me and scream for me, and yay, everyone loves me. Everyone loves me. That's this dude. You're not worried about him becoming president again? The thing that you just need to flatter him to get him to do what you want?
That's it. Just tell me all the good things I'm doing. Tell me
right.
I'm a good boy. Tell me I'm a good boy. I mean, I hadn't heard that. That is really pathetic. Like really, really pathetic. Wow.
But also completely on brand. Like you're not surprised to hear it whatsoever.
No, and that's really terrifying. It's like I'm not surprised at all to hear that. Cool. We're doing great. We are doing great. Holy shit. Again, please just consider all of the things that we're talking about in this episode. Like, this guy doesn't care about you, man. And he is willing to destroy the democracy.
That party doesn't care about you, man.
No, they really don't. All right. That is it for us. Big show, huge show this week. I hope everybody enjoyed it. If I hurt your feelings, see you next week.
See you in the comments.
Yeah, see you in the comments. I do not care. I'm not in the business of playing nice anymore. But more than piss you off, if it did piss you off, you got to think about why it pissed you off, right? Like, think about the things that you're hearing, not just my insults, because those are on purpose, but what we're talking about. What are you willing to let get destroyed to do nothing, right? And again, the doing nothing part only makes it worse for the people that you're saying you're doing this for. It doesn't make it better for them. So to me, it feels like you're only doing it for yourself and saying, fuck the world. And that, to me, is an incredibly selfish thing to do. So, I don't know. I was raised to give a shit about others. I just was. And hopefully you were too. So, again, if you were offended by what I said, see you next week. All right. That's it for us. Next time.
Bye.